I'm welcoming to the show Canadian music singer-songwriter, Canadian Country Music Association Rising Star, and Female Artist of the Year nominee, multi-charting country artist with hits like Don't Say You Love Me, No One Like You, and Moonshine. With those accolades, you gotta be Alee. Hi,
Hey,
Alee. Welcome to the show, Alee.
I think that's the best intro I've ever had. I love
Right
that.
on. Well, thanks for joining us. And you know what? You're on a very special episode of the Monthly Social podcast because we've never done an all music episode, and this is an all music episode, and you got the country corner on it. So welcome.
Thank you so much.
How you doing tonight?
Amazing. Just can't believe how quick the year is kind of going by, but it's very exciting to be working on new music. I was actually in the studio today, so I can confirm there's a lot more music coming for me this year.
Oh, we gave it away early. Look at that. Hey, you got some pretty cool stuff going on in the background there. Is that like custom wall going on,
Yeah,
or?
that is so when I moved to Nashville now, about 4 years ago now, I moved in. I was like, okay, I can't afford, it was my first time also living on my own for the first time. And I was like, I can't afford any like cool artwork. So I put up some easel paper. From a Facebook ad, found a guy who was selling a bunch of like old, cool vintage fashion magazines. And I
Wow.
went through like the first couple months and build my own kind of like vision board, something fun to kind of talk about the next era of Alee and what it's going to be. So, yes, that is all me.
It is funky. Now, if we release the video version of this at some point,
Yeah.
people are going to get to see it, but they got to just some imagination going on here for folks listening in. Now,
Yeah.
look, you dropped Nashville there, but you're an Edmonton, Alberta gal, right?
Edmonton, born and raised. That's so far
Yeah.
been most of my life has actually been in Edmonton. And I still love going back. I try to go back as much as I possibly can because obviously my family's still there and all of that. But Edmonton inspired a lot of my songs, that's for sure.
So shout out Edmonton, shout out Alberta. Now, listen, it's interesting. We use the word home. Do you call Edmonton home or do you call Nashville home when you talk to people?
It's tough because I've done both. And I think the hardest part is when I say, oh, I'm going home, when I'm on the phone with my mom driving like to get back to my apartment. And she's like, no, that's not home. Edmonton is home.
I,
I've dropped both, but Edmonton is truly home.
I like your mom.
Me too.
Yeah, right on. Hi, mom. So what are some of the differences? Just for folks, like, because we talk about all these different places and I talk to people all over the world. So what are some of the differences between Edmonton and Nashville?
I mean, I feel like I was really lucky to be from Edmonton originally because it was a good like leeway into Nashville. It's still same kind of city size, which is awesome. You still got a nightlife, although Nashville nightlife is especially crazy. And the one thing that I don't know why I didn't think about was weather difference. Just the humidity alone and the hot summers here. Like when we get to like 40 to 45 degrees Celsius, I'm like, what is going on? I'm not used to this at all. I enjoy like a mild 25, like that's considerably a hot summer for me. So that's probably been the thing that is the hardest to get used to.
So during the winter months, were you like wearing shorts and light jackets and people were looking at you strangely, or?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Still the one who like goes full blast. And I'm the only one who also gets really excited when it snows here. Everyone else absolutely hates it, but it's like my only opportunity to have like actual snow days because we never got those back home. You get -40 weather and it's still like, oh no, you go to school. And here, like as soon as it's like -10, they're like shut everything down. Nothing can happen. So that's my time to thrive.
You know what? When I moved to Southern Ontario, I lived in Sault Ste. Marie, born and raised, right? So, we really didn't know what a snow day was. So when I came to Southern Ontario and they started talking snow days, I'm thinking, huh, what's going on? Snow days? But look, snow, Canada, ice, hockey. Are
Yeah.
you are you an Oilers fan or a Predators fan? I'm
Oh,
putting I'm putting you on the spot tonight.
You are. I actually, before Christmas, got to go to a Predators Oilers game, and found the perfect happy medium because here in Tennessee, Nashville used to have a football team that was called the Tennessee Oilers. So I found a vintage Tennessee Oilers shirt and I sported it to that game. And yeah, it was interesting to say the least. But when I'm home, it's Edmonton. When I'm here, it's Preds. I feel really weird. I feel like a bandwagon jumper a little bit.
Oh, that's okay. You can like two teams, I guess.
I
You
guess.
know what? It increases the odds, right? Like if one of them wins,
Exactly.
we got a happier alley. So a happier alley is a good thing, right?
I hopefully have a team in the playoffs this year.
Right.
Hopefully. We'll see how it goes.
Go Oilers. No, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. Nashville, I'm kidding. No, listen, so your name, Allie. I'm calling you Allie, and that's what's out there is Allie. But you have a full name.
You do.
You
It's hard
do.
to
Do you want to pronounce it or you want me to try it?
believe. Do you want to try? I think you should try.
Okay, I'm gonna try. So the first name is easy. I'm gonna go. Okay, your full name is Alexandra
Yeah,
Adamoski.
you got it. You nailed it.
Really? That's it?
That's it.
Polish heritage? Polish heritage?
Yeah, Polish Ukrainian and a family
Okay.
who clearly wanted me to be a doctor and not a musician. With a name like, especially Adamoski, I said that would be a good hockey jersey name. I don't know if that's a great country artist name.
Yeah. Team Canada. I could see you playing for them. So when did you start going by Ali? Like, is that just something that your friends started or?
Yeah, it was my friends calling me Allie growing up, and I always wanted to spell it a little differently to be kind of unique. So Alee is what I decided to go with. But it's funny because growing up, my friends would call the house and ask for Allie, and my dad would say, "There's no Allie here," and hang up the phone. Like my parents hated it. um,
You know what? I would get along with your parents. I like
yeah.
your dad too. That's something I would probably do here. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, sorry.
No,
No,
it's
that's cool.
and so yeah, it just kind of started to build on and build on and made sense because I was like, maybe one day I'll add a last name to it. But for now, it's short and sweet. And it's kind of funny now because my parents also now kind of call me Allie, and it's weird. It gets weirder by the day.
Yeah, it starts to, I mean, you start to have the interaction and it kind of wears on you, right? So you start to interact that way. But when did the GottaBe Alee part kick in? Like is that something that you consciously did for the music or?
Yeah, so that actually, oh gosh, years and years and years and years ago, when I kind of started playing live shows and just whatever I could at the time. I was probably like 14, 15, and created a YouTube account to post some of the videos because my dad would work on the road a lot and I used GottaBe Alee. That was it. And it kind of stuck from there. So anyone kind of who knew me from the early days was always searching that to find me. So I guess that's what it is now. GottaBe Alee.
Gotta be, there's nothing else. You can be, so you gotta be Ali. That's cool.
Yeah.
So about your music. It's country music. And we're listening to your songs and for a while now. And I'm just curious, everybody is. Um, did you find your way to country music or did country music find its way to you? And what I mean by that is when you started the music journey, did you experiment with stuff and you kind of migrated to country, or was it country just started working its way into your songs?
It's funny you say it that way because country probably found its way to me.
Mm.
Growing up, I was inspired by a lot of, I mean, like I'm a 90s baby, so it was a lot of NSYNC and Britney Spears and that like pop era. And grew up with, my first concert ever. I don't know if you're familiar with Yanni, but
Yeah.
World Music with Yanni, that was my first ever concert. Jesse Cook, who's an incredible flamenco guitarist. There was a lot of that in our household too. So it went from, my very pop side of things to, expanding. Nickelback was one of my top played artists as well. So
Mm.
I kind of grew up with all these different genres of music that I loved and learned to respect and enjoy the songwriting, I think, of all of those different genres and what made a great song. And then it was high school where I was writing songs and started to go to Brad Paisley concerts, Sarah Evans, like all of these people who had these traditional instrumentation behind their songs and a different way of storytelling than I was used to. And things just kind of started to mesh. And that's when things started, when I made my first album and I had a sound in my brain where I was like, I know there's a way to mesh these, mandolins, banjos, all of that to make it a little more on that 90s, early 2000s pop side. And it's been many albums now in the evolution of creating the sound, but with each and every single song I create more, I'm finding more of a home of where those things sit right together.
Yeah, so you brought together a bunch of genres, and in that you kind of extracted that special sound that Alee has,
Yeah.
which is that country Alee sound. Was there any specific country artist influences you had along the way, or any country influences you had along the way?
Yeah.
I
Well,
know you mentioned, and then sorry, you mentioned Paisley and Sarah Evans and things like
yeah.
that. Was there something that really you went, oh, that's it, that's the inspiration?
I do think like Brad was a real big start behind my music and love for it, because really the first country songs I was writing were that comedic style of like classic Brad Paisley kind of writing. So it started there, but like I feel like a lot of the pop and country mix probably came a lot from Shania Twain and all of her, massive hits along the way. So there's no doubt it's been fun watching how her songs continue to be, everything we listen to now. And now that she's kind of back and, evolving herself as an artist too, it's been really fun to watch.
Do you think you guys, in the industry that you're in that country industry, and you've got like you're out there, you've got some new stuff coming on, Shania's out there, you got that Canadian spin going on. Do you think you help each other out when the stuff comes out at the same time and people start hearing it?
Yeah, I do. Especially, I mean, females in general right now. I find that it's so awesome when you have a female who releases a song that everyone gravitates to and it ends up on the same playlist as a bunch of other women who, they share like interests. So it's been really cool to work together, like you said, with Shania, with a bunch of awesome
Yeah.
Canadian artists and beyond.
Now, do you get compared? Do you know if you get compared to any particular artist, or do you compare yourself to anybody?
I feel like just because of my height alone, it's been a lot of Taylor Swift references. um,
Really?
a
Yeah.
lot of that, and honestly, Shania too, just coming from a Canadian background. It's funny how as soon as you leave the country, everyone gravitates to Canadian women being Shania. Shania is the Canadian country icon. So a lot of comparisons to those two. Some Kelsey Ballerina in there too. There's a lot of wonderful women right now who I think we're all kind of in that same grouping that works really well for people who are also looking to transition into country music, who aren't quite sure if they're ready to dive straight into like old classic country, but it's a good like middle ground.
Now, are you when you get those comparisons, are you cool with it?
Yeah, I love it. I don't think there's anything better than being told um, you sound or remind people of an artist that you've admired and like honestly watch grow and been like, oh yes, that is the path I'd love to follow. So I think it's really cool.
So when you're writing and you're doing your music and prepping it or whatever the case is, as you're going through your creative process, are you a music first or a lyric first kind of artist? And like for me, like I know like when I get the album or when I get the song, one of my favorite things to do is before I even listen, I want to read the lyrics. I want to see what the person's gonna say. And then I sort of immerse myself in the music. But when you write, maybe it's a different process. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, it depends on the day, but I'm usually the kind who hears melody first, and then we get into lyrics. But I will say, I am one who will not let a song be recorded until we've perfected the lyrics. So if it means months later we're going back and rewriting things, like even today, we were like, okay, there needs to be a couple tweaks in these lines for it to be as strong as it can be and make sense to the fans. I love doing that because I do think, again, this comes back to me being a poetry girl first. Like when I was in elementary school, that's what really got me into songwriting, was my love of poetry. So it always started with the words for me somewhere.
Do you ever go back to some of your old poems and put a little jingle to them, or?
I haven't, but I should.
No, I'm just curious, right? Like I love writing poetry too, so I'm just curious if that's something that you thought of. Um, your debut album. was released on July 18th, 2013. And Real, one of the tracks on that album, was your first single. That came out February 1st, 2012. Now, you've been in the Canadian country music scene for about a decade.
Yeah.
And how has things changed in the Canadian country music scene from when you first started to today?
Well, I mean, for starters, back then, there weren't really a lot of how-to guides on how to put music out, how to find a producer, how to, do any of those things. So it was a lot of just kind of meeting people at that point and finding my way in the industry and testing things. I mean, that first single Reel, I literally Googled all of the program and music directors from like every single Canadian station and called them and was like, hey, I'm Alee. I'm this new artist. This is my song. Take a listen. And for some reason, they started playing it, which is crazy. But like, now I think about the way, like, even I found the producer for my newest album now was loading up Spotify and looking at album credits through Spotify. We weren't lucky to have that, 10 years ago. So it's kind of cool how there's more appreciation and more knowledge now, I think, for an artist who's trying to find their way. I think it is just as hard because there's all of that knowledge out there. So there's so many people trying to do it. But I think if you have a want to be a part of an industry like this and make music and all of that, I think it's a lot easier to figure out how to do that.
Were you making those phone calls? Were you nervous?
Yes. Yeah, but
Really?
for some reason, once you like, once someone picks up the phone call on the other end, all of the worries kind of go away. I think the most stress was like, what am I even saying when we start off this phone call? And the best part about all of it is that a lot of those people that I was meeting back then are still in the industry in some way now and are really good friends of mine. So it's fun to go back and kind of laugh about those days.
I think it's amazing because it's only 10, like, we say 10 years can seem like so long, but it's really only 10 years. And the industry changed so much that you were able to do that now. And like you say now, there's a lot of those paths and avenues. They're a little bit saturated and maybe the same techniques don't work for everybody. But really in 10 years, that evolution is really incredible. Would you do anything different in terms of your music journey so far?
I'm going to say no, just because I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason. So I know that even the moments that are not my favorite, they did lead me somewhere. And that's where I was kind of meant to be. Like even Nashville, I think about like all of the years I wanted to be here. It took everything lining up in the right time. So um no, I'm actually really happy with the way that things have gone so far.
How did you get out of those moments? The ones that you look back and you go, "Oh, I wouldn't redo them because I got something out of them, but they weren't that great." How did you get out of them?
Taking a step forward, that was the only thing. Like I even like Nashville, it was a situation where I knew that I needed something different. I needed to change up where I was, what I was doing. I needed to keep myself busy. So it was really just always putting a project ahead of myself and saying, okay, we're going to work towards this now. We need to move forward.
So just kept looking ahead no matter what. If it was a step backwards, you're going to take a step forward, like just move forward, resiliency, perseverance, no matter
Yeah,
what.
to say the
Forward
least.
is
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned about women in country music. Um, was it harder breaking into the industry as a country female artist, or has it been more challenging continuing to be part of the scene?
I would say probably continuing,
Hmm.
um, just because um, at the time, I do really look back and I'm so thankful that I started releasing music when I did. I feel like it was a point where there weren't a lot of indie artists who were doing it. There weren't a lot of, not to say there weren't a lot of women, but there weren't. I was kind of in a great moment where it was the perfect, welcome for me and my music. And now the thing is like, you open Spotify, you open up your Apple Music every given day, and there's always a new artist. And they're always younger than you are too. And you're like, wait, where did the time go? Hold on a second. But that's also made it equally as fun because I feel like there is the pressure to reinvent yourself now and then, and also make sure that whatever you're putting out is genuine to you and what you do. And I've learned that at the end of the day, no one can kind of replace what you do as an artist. So if you have something to say and a way to say it, that's your time and place to do it.
Sounds like a lot of on the road reflection and learning there, Ali.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Now, do you any of the challenges that you have come across, do you think some of them are specific to I'm a woman and I'm having these challenges, or are then or is the industry just it is what it is and everybody's going to face the same types of challenges?
I mean, I definitely think women have it a bit tougher. There's no doubt about that. I don't want to go and say, "Oh yeah, we have it so hard." We do. Like it's to the point where even I look at writers in this town, like there's a lot more, I'd like to think, male writers that make it through than female writers, and girls also have a different perspective on things. So it's
Mm.
tougher to find women to write songs with that understand exactly what you're going through sometimes. With that said, I've been really lucky to find a lot of great women because they're pushing as hard as they are to break, through the boundaries. Um, and that has been awesome. I think there will always be, like, I look at producers, for instance, a lot of producers are male. And I think that's also, being raised on that idea that producers are meant to be male. So there's not a lot of women who are, put into that position right from the get go. But I think it's really cool that now we have a bunch of girls who are in positions who are inspiring younger women to want to get into production and playing instruments that typically would be more male dominated. So I think we're moving in a direction where women are going to have more equal abilities, but it might take a minute still.
Just a minute. But
Yeah.
I really like I think you brought something up that's really important, and you talked about the writers, and you talked about the writers being, if they're predominantly male and you're trying to get a different message out there, you're working with them, you're trying to help them understand your point of view. It's not easy for them, it's not easy for you. But you're right. If the playing field sort of levels out a little bit, some of those things might become a little bit easier over time, and hopefully they do. And it's amazing. Like I just think, country music and the years that we have, the maturity that we have, and we're still growing and evolving those parts of it. Um, do you have a favorite moment from your music journey so far that you can share with us? Something that happened on stage, or someone you met, or something that you saw that went beyond the performance even?
Yeah, well, the most recent single actually is a really good story about that. I was playing a show in Nashville here. It's just over a year ago now, and I was in the middle of my set. I always play one of my favorite love songs, When You Say Nothing at All. And this woman kind of came through the crowd. It was a packed house, but she comes up to the front of the stage and she's kind of interacting with me. And at this point, I was in like the middle of the first chorus. And she's kind of like waving me down, and I'm in the middle of playing, and she goes, "I need you to stop playing this song." And I said, "Okay, this has never happened before. Like, what do you do?" So sure enough, I stopped, found out she was recently divorced. It was her wedding song. And that stuck with me the rest of the night, where I was like, wait, that's a really cool idea. Of course, my songwriter brain kicks in and is like, some love songs aren't love songs anymore. And I ended up going to my friend Josh Gleave, who's like one of my favorite people to write with, and told him the story. And he was like, we have to write this song. So sure enough, that's the brand new single, Love Songs. And since releasing it, it's kind of crazy because I just kind of told the story of how it was written on TikTok leading up to release, because that is what we do now,
Yeah.
and it ended up, we're at like 2.1 million people have seen the video. It ended up finding the woman and a bunch more people who have been in the exact same situation, which was wild to me because I knew it was relatable, but I didn't know how relatable of an idea it was. So it's really cool how things go from live in-person experience to a song and back to the stage. Now I've been playing it the last couple weeks, and that's been really cool for it to come full circle like that.
And this is brand new. It was released February 9th, right?
Yeah.
February 9th. It had a midnight release, I think. We're going to hear that on the show later, I think, too, right?
Oh, I'd love for everyone to hear it.
Yeah. Right on. So we'll play that. Stick around, folks, because we're going to hear Love Songs by GottaBe Alee. Continue to talk about your music. A song before that is another single. It was called 24. Can you tell us a little bit about 24?
Yeah, so long story short, 24 was a song that I wrote for my little sister, Lauren. I'm the oldest of three kids, and my sister, she's one who, if you come to a show in Canada, you'll actually see my sister on stage. She plays banjo and she sings with me. She's featured on a bunch of my live stuff over the years and a bunch of the recorded songs. She's written on a couple of them,
Oh,
sang on a
wow.
bunch of them. Family's always been really important to me, but it was pretty tough. Well, I, you know, moved here to have such a distance from my sister. I think it's like 2,300 miles or something like that. I don't even want to figure it out in kilometers, but it was tough because I'd always call home and she'd be going through a lot of the same things that I was going through when I was getting into 25. And that was the year actually that I moved to Nashville. So it's kind of crazy how everything comes to be. It's that moment of like realizing, okay, it's time to kind of be a grown up now. And I remember all my friends were getting married and having kids and all of this. And I was just like, I'm just trying to figure out how to make it to tomorrow, you know? So I had this idea to write a song for her. I went into a room with a couple of my friends, and sure enough, one of the girls that I wrote with was 25 and was going through the same thing. So it was really cool to write something so specific. This album has definitely been more focused on like my real life and telling stories about me, whereas I feel like some of the last of the music was more me writing from the outside looking in on all of
Mm.
my friends and all those kinds of things. So it's been nice to have more of that personal touch to the album.
I was just gonna say, it sounds like you're going through a personal journey that you're gonna share with us on these songs, and we're gonna listen to that one too. We're gonna listen to 24. So folks, again, stick around and we'll do that. Now, look, you've told me about who you're writing with, and who you're writing for. Who are you singing to? Who's your audience out there? Do you have somebody specific in mind? Is it everybody? Is it, girls? Is it guys? Do you have something in mind when you're putting these things together?
Yeah, enough to the point where I know that I just want to make music for people who need to explain how they feel through songs. That's what music always did for me. I loved going back through my playlist and listening to Avril Lavigne on the days that I had some angst, and some Brad Paisley when I felt like I was in love. I just like really wanted to make the soundtrack for people who needed to try and explain what they've been going through. So with that said, I always try and make sure that the album is kind of filled with some heartbreak songs, some songs about life, some love songs, some songs about going out and partying and have fun with your friends. I always like to make sure that there's something for everyone. Um, and the one thing that I've learned over the past years is that to never stress about, you know, writing to make everyone happy. As much as I say something for everyone, I've definitely moved into this world of like, I make things that I really love. I make music for me. And then whoever is going to find that who loves it, those are my people.
Well, I think I'm one of those people, Ali.
Thank you.
No, that's pretty cool. Look, it sounds like you're always making music, but when you're not, what are you doing when you're not making music? What do you do for fun?
Oh, I've started rock climbing recently. That's
Oh
that's a
my.
new fun thing for me. I found that honestly, that like that's one of the only things that I've done as of late that my brain actually shuts off the music side. Not that I don't love the music side, but
Yeah.
sometimes my brain does need a little bit of a break. So that's been fun. And if it's not that, honestly, probably some Netflix TV shows now and then. But I'm in like writing mode a lot in the back of my brain.
It's hard to switch off. Once you get going, it's hard to switch off.
Yeah,
When you when you're performing on stage and somebody is singing the words to your songs, what does that feel like?
it's pretty cool. That will never get old. That is something really special. I've had fans message me for like handwriting of certain lyrics that they've had tattooed on their bodies, which I still can't believe. That's wild too. Um, and even hearing a song come on the radio, it's still really cool. Like there really is nothing like the first time but they all do feel just as cool.
Every time.
Yeah.
What do you have coming up in 2023? So you just released this song. You got more stuff for us in the coming months?
I've got new stuff coming. Like I said, I was in the studio this morning, and this is the year I feel like every year for the past couple years, everyone was like, okay, when's new stuff coming? And I would always say soon. And it took so long to make that happen. And, exiting 2022 and entering 2023, I made sure that we had things lined up so that everyone does get a lot of music from me this year, so much more than they're used to. I don't know what people are going to do with all of this music, but I'm very excited to share all of it. For the rest of the year, you've got a lot more stuff coming.
Well, we're gonna play it and we're gonna read it and we're gonna listen and we're gonna dance and we're gonna love it, Alee.
Oh, amazing. Thank you.
Alee, it's been a pleasure having you here with us. And before I let you get back to your music making, your boot stomping, music making, is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with that maybe I didn't ask you today?
Honestly, just this whole story of love songs really reminded me to try and always put yourself in someone else's shoes and remember that people are going through hard times some days, and just to try and be as wonderful to people as you can be. So if there's one thing that I can share today, it is be wonderful to the people that you see on the street. And just, you never know when you're making someone's day.
That is GottaBe Alee, our Canadian music singer-songwriter, CCMA Rising Star and Female Artist of the Year nominee, multi-charting country artist. Again, thank you for connecting with us today. Keep on rocking, Alee. Now let's go listen to her latest single, Love Songs.